petroleum refiners in the country. And I have with me, well, the national chairman of the Artisanal Refiners, who is with me in the studios, and also, well, the president of the Engineering Association of Nigeria. Now, let me go to you, Mr. Anyoku. Now, one very interesting argument that, people have made is the fact that for commercial interest, perhaps it's time for us to do things differently like we've done before. And also the discussions have not been helped by the fact that, well, the government refineries in Nigeria, are not working at, to capacity as we speak. Now, don't you think it is time for us to try things differently?
Well, thank you, Ferdinand. Definitely it's time for us to try things differently, but it's not to go back to what used to exist over a century ago, for which humanity has paid tremendous price in terms of evolution of refining business and technology between that time and today. Refining and crude oil, crude oil is a very toxic commodity. Refining is a highly hazardous, complex industry and has evolved over these 100 years through intensive research and training and reskilling to achieve the current level of moderate safety, which even as I speak, refining industry is still a highly hazardous industry. So, and it is not a business that is undertaken lightly by any government. Government has responsibility for law and order. And law and order means we must enforce environmental standards. We must enforce product specifications. Don't forget the products from the refineries are highly toxic. A lot of them are carcinogenic. So the handling and exposure must be done in a controlled manner. So Nigerian refineries, Nigeria had refined crude right from 60s.
All right, Mr. Anyoku, I'll also plead that you allow, Mr. Godwin Sunday to also react to that. But basically now, your arguments have been hinged on the fact that in some other places, well, some other parts of Nigeria, well, let's go to the north, for instance. Well, we see that artisanal gold miners in the northern part of Nigeria have been formally integrated. But there are also discussions about the fact that, your own exercise is even more dangerous and, of course, more hazardous when you take a look at the fact that more people indeed use your products than those who use, gold and others. But what do you need to operate at the best practices, to operate at the level of best practices?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think before I answer that question, let me just digress a little by going back to what my big brother is saying. As a country, we've been towing a certain path, and for us to have a change, we have to change our, dynamics, way of doing things. We have to try what we've never tried before. But of course, we have to do something. Yeah, we have to do something, and that is our position. We are not saying we should go back to our process of refining, the profile, so to call it. We are demanding for a modular refinery. And like I mentioned before, it's an advanced technology where you not have environmental pollution and all that. The effect on the environment will not be that severe. So as a country, our position is that let's try what we've never tried before. It's better to try and fail than not trying. I think giving us the opportunity, Nigerians will be happy. It's about giving the opportunity. And let me just mention this. We are not telling the Nigerian government to build this modular refinery for us. Because, for instance, the one they built all this while is not working. The 4 refineries we have is not working. all we are telling government is that guarantee us, which I think one of our engagement, the GMD of NNPC mentioned that government, for the fact that we came out voluntarily, that government is going to guarantee us at any length. So my appeal as a group.
Permit me to ask now, at what level of discussions have you had with the government?
Yeah.
What level of interactions?
Yeah, I think I want to appreciate President Muhammadu Buhari in the first place for, creating the office of the SSA to the President of Niger Delta. I mean, that office has been so resourceful because it is through that office we have the access to government to, tell him how we feel as Niger Delta people. The office has to do with Niger Delta people. It's the SSA to the President of Niger Delta Affairs. And in one of those engagements, he assured us, at least he gave us that confidence that government under President Buhari would not treat us with levity. And we are having confidence. So we have been engaging government, I think in totality, it's about 8 times. So going back to your question, there's nothing that different between artisanal miners and artisanal oil refiners, though our own might be a little bit. But to me, I mentioned that 2 has to do with illegality before this time. And
by illegality, you mean, not having the government
approval. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so the Northerners now, because the rate of unemployment in this country is so alarming. And most of us are not just doing this thing because we want to do it, but we are doing it as a means of livelihood. So when the Northerners, we started this engagement almost the same time. But I think President, out of his goodwill, has assented to the Northerners, the miners.
Now that's the reason why I said before now that the argument has been the fact that, well, refining petroleum product is more hazardous than refining some other products. But then we will definitely get to that, or perhaps we'll look for a very good time to indeed take on that argument. But come on, Mr. Anyoko, just before we go, well, let's allow you to talk to us on exactly what you think about making these artisanal refiners, at least having some level of control, and also the government having some form of monitoring to ensure that, well, at least things are done to a very good standard. Now, what do you think about it? Do you think this is the point where we definitely have to dispatch it all, or perhaps, do you think there's something that we can do to ensure that, well, maybe we get to improve on the standards, well, improve on the utilities and values like you talked about, and also, well, get more people engaged?
Thank you, Ferdinand. It's a journey. I cannot sit down here and say we should disperse artisanal refiners without engaging them in discussions on how they can move out of those very dangerous practices that are akin to self-immolation. Yes, what you call modular refineries, if properly engineered to the same standards, modular refineries are not different from big refining complexes. They make the same products. The only thing is that they are smaller. And of course, there is a significant cost to it because refining is a turnover, throughput-driven business. It has a slim margin, so the bigger the capacity, the more sustainable it is. However, it can be miniaturized to any capacity that you're comfortable with, provided it's a business decision. Whichever size you choose that meets all the standards, from product specifications to environmental standards to personal safety, occupational safety standards, is ultimately tantamount to your business decision. And so and a lot of the youths can be reskilled to participate in proper refining, responsible refining. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. What my society is vehemently against is because we're a professional body. Professional body is anchored on ethics and standards and principles. So we will not compromise on those
so
standards.
much, Mr. Onochi Anyoku, President, Nigerian Society of Chemical Engineers, for indeed giving us some insight into it. Now, Mr. Sunday, well, just before I let you go, well, talk to us on the level of engagement you think the government can indeed have with you to ensure that, well, you take this to a level where it can be safe, we can get our value from it, and also, well, we can also have you stay in business.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we are appealing to the Mr. President, who is a listening president. A level of engagement with government, to me, I must say, we are satisfied. It's been so far so good. Government has met promises. Our advocacy emanated from the fact that the Vice President came to the Niger Delta about 3 years ago, 3 years downline, and made a promise of giving the artisanal, integrating artisanal oil refiners into the mainstream of petroleum sector by way of, giving us a modular refinery. And it is on that basis that we are making agitation. So we are calling on government as of today that they should do everything possible to, stick to that promise they made, because how do I put it? The benefit of what we are agitating for is so enormous. We are talking about the employment and other benefits. You have to understand the fact that millions of Nigeria, and basically about 80% of us, are graduates without any jobs.
Well, I must say thank you so much, Mr. Godwin Sunday, the National Chairman, Domestic Refiners Owners Association.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, well, let's go straight to some information on COVID. Now, Nigeria on Saturday recorded 189 new coronavirus infections, bringing the total